Thank you for tuning into The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I'd like to send you a warm welcome. Here I talk about issues that happen within the Black community, hopefully for some resolution or at least some food for thought to go about your daily way. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce this episode's topic, which is why do we as Black people serve other races of people but not our own? Okay? I wanted to first off by making a small disclaimer. This does not apply to every Black person or white person. There's different uh, ways of life and scenarios. Okay, so now that I've made that, I wanted to first start off by saying that when we all take a glance at the history and current conditions of American Black people, especially those that are descendants of slavery, okay, many often or may often critique Black people and ostracize Black people. Okay? But no one understands the Black man and woman like another Black person. Okay? So everyone's got their 2 cents on why Black people are the way they are and stuff like that, right? But no one can really understand us as Black people but another Black person. Okay? I once heard someone tell me that it was only a mere dream that Black people could live independently in their own land. Okay, so I take it this was a Black person because this was online, and I'm like, hey, if things don't work out here in America, maybe we can get our own land. And they was basically saying that's like a dream, it's impossible. Okay, and although I disagree. Okay, so I disagree that we can't be, gain our independence as Blacks and maybe perhaps one day, have our own land. So I'm disagreeing with the fact that it's impossible, okay? I disagree simply because the average American Black person and Black people as a whole are more than 1,000 years behind, okay? So I don't really think it's impossible. I just think that, we're behind as Black people, as a Black nation with technology, okay? Because part of this brother's argument is that, hey, we don't have the guns, we don't have satellites, to be able to defend, our own nuclear warhead, the whole bit, what everybody else has to be able to protect their land, okay? And I say 1,000 years behind us as Black people because when you know especially Europeans and other races of people were back in the frontier stages of development, farming and, before all this cellular stuff, back in the 16, 1700s, we were basically, enslaved. So by the time we were free, we were already behind anyway. And then it seemed like we're kind of going behind even in 2021, okay? Especially with our mentality, okay? So technology and civilization is where Black people lack, okay? So we lack, like I said, technology, the education, and things of that nature, like where we spend a lot of our time at. We think that we're coming up with ideas on our own, but the things that we come up with as Black people, entertainment, and all these type of different revenues that Black people are in is basically to benefit other races of people and to basically be entertainers for other people, not something that's going to necessarily benefit us as Black people. The Black man and woman must reconnect the educational, spiritual, and physical parts of themselves together again, okay? I want to first start off by talking about a little history when we're talking about, why do Black people, why are we so quick to serve or give someone good customer service when it's not our people? And then when it comes to us, we'll do a slack, a half job, or attitudinal type of a disposition when we're coming across around people. And I want to talk a little bit about history first, okay? And as you well know, if you've listened to any of my other episodes, I'm an avid believer in discussing history because if you don't know where you're from, you don't know where you're going, and you're bound also to make the same mistakes over and over again, okay? So let me start off with the very last time Blacks thought independently was the last time they were actually free and without European interference. And when I say European interference, French, English interference. So, however it came to be that we're in the condition that we're in 2022, you know, our last time when we were free, our ancestors were free, was the last time that we were able to think on our own, and I think have some type of brotherhood, a sisterhood, even if not all of us, perfectly got along, but something close to that. Something better than what we have now. Okay. As since that time, blacks were reprimanded, mentally brainwashed, and tortured into thinking separately from their own black people, okay? Not to trust anyone other than slave owners, okay? So, we've been, conditioned and manufactured mentally, spiritually torn apart, physically on all layers of the chakras. We've been, um, what's the word, separated from being whole, okay? And not to trust anyone other than the slave owners, okay? And yet slightly rewarded, perhaps, above other slaves at times to report any fellow slave escapee attempts, any slaves doing anything that was against their owners' rules of the plantation. So, on one aspect, we were manufactured into this, think separately, don't think together, no unity, and then being rewarded, part of the brainwashing, to tell and report anything that looked suspicious that massa wouldn't like. Okay, so this is not what's good for you as yourself as a black person or your black people. This is about reporting anything that they would consider suspicious or a threat, and how much of this type of mentality is embedded in a lot of us as American black people to this very day. And currently, we often complain amongst ourselves as black people. Okay, we often complain that we are unable to trust or do business with our own. We're always talking about, or you always hear a story about, black people not being able to put their money together in a community because someone might run away with the money or rob the money, or, something may go wrong. By doing business with your own, okay, people. Our neighborhoods are the most ran down or dangerous. We're always hearing about that. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has heard, like, hey, things are bad in our neighborhoods. We're quick to vocalize this publicly on TV and radio shows, but we're not. But excuse me, but we're not looking at why they are dangerous. Okay, like, what are we doing as black people? Are we still in this victim mentality where we're projecting, hey, our neighborhoods are dangerous, but it's our own black men and women and children that make our own neighborhoods safe? And when will we have the common sense to not crap and not defecate where you lay your head at, your neighborhoods, where your children go to school at? Why sell drugs? Why do those things and make it a dangerous environment, even if they're not the newest homes, even if it's not the newest stores? In order for black people to manifest beautifully on the outside, newer stores, better schools, better looking type of things, it starts intrinsically. We have to want to treat the atmosphere that we live in kindly. So that's not causing drama where we live at, and that's not making it to where we're used to hearing gunshots and things of that nature. And then what manifests itself on the inside can manifest itself on the outside, and then we can live in better places and take care of what we have when it is newly rebuilt. Our children also lack the education and the level of education. Okay, so we're talking about these things as black people. We often complain about black relationships. Men are complaining about black women. Black women are complaining about black men. Black men are saying that they can't trust each other. So that right there is the foundation of why there's a lack of black men unity, black male leadership, and that's why black women, a lot of them don't have any desire to follow a black man, because black men can't even follow each other and lead in the direction that women need to go in. If black men lack the direction of where to go, I mean, why? Common sense, how would black women and children have a direction to go into? Okay. And last but not least, we as black people complain when other races of people smile, give discounts to, let slide, break a few rules, or give more attention to their own race of people. We as black people are notorious for saying that, oh, we know why they got off, right? Or we know why, they didn't get a jail sentence, or we know why they got the job because they're white, right? And the thing is, it's not about discouraging anyone from, being nice to other races of people. There's nothing wrong with showing kindness and fairness, okay, to other people, okay? But as black people, what we don't realize is that the very fact that we continue to ask that question, the question that I just read, about why do black people complain about, other races of people giving more attention to their own, okay? So it's because we keep asking that very question is as to the very same reason why we stay behind. Okay? When will black people remove the mental shackles from off their own minds instead of waiting for someone else to remove them for you? And I think that's the crux of our problem as black people in America. We there's nothing wrong with us fighting for our civil rights. We know there's a widespread, 1,000 year old, 500, 800 year old problem, since, white people and black people have been in this country about unequal rights and unequal treatment and this quote unquote fantasy of white privilege and black inferiority. So there's nothing wrong with fighting for being treated fair, okay? There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But are we as black people at the same time using it as a crutch, thinking that everyone should think like we do? We're the only race of people that put everyone else first before our own. Do we think that other races of people, Asians, Koreans, Arabians, Caucasians, are going to do the same? And it's because of this why we stay in the condition that we are in as a whole, okay? And although I do believe in treating people kind and fair regardless of creed or race, okay? So I've said that before. Black people must stop serving others more than themselves, then become upset when the same isn't reciprocated from other races. And like I said before, it's okay for us to fight for, better education and things need to be fair and equal. That's a never ending fight that we should continue to fight. But there needs to be a boundary point that we know as black people that we can't expect for anyone else, regardless of what race, to treat us better than they treat their own. And when are we, furthermore, as black people, going to wake up and smell the coffee to understand, yeah, I could be nice to this person or that person, but what about stopping fully at a stop sign if I see a black older woman or a black man or a black child? Our lives are precious. Stop fully at a stoplight. You know, give good customer service when our people walk through. How about instead of black men always talking about their differences, try to come together so that they can create something for their women and children in their neighborhoods? These things, when are we going to value ourselves, to treat ourselves kindly? If you're a nurse or you're a healthcare professional, why don't you treat your own people good? And that's not to say to, treat anybody else differently. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to black people, and us being so used to giving some other people other people something that we're not giving ourselves, basically. Okay, which therefore keeps black people in a endless victim mentality simply because, okay, blacks continue to ask permission to be mentally free. Okay, if we're, like I said, if we're thinking someone else is going to come and give us this green light, we're going to be waiting forever. Also, B, instead of expecting other races to betray their own, like blacks are known for doing to themselves, for black people to turn inwardly and start to care for their own. That's what we need to start doing. As black people, okay, we live in a society where black unity, clubs, stores, schools, or gatherings are often looked upon as highly suspicious and are highly discouraged. Okay? Also, I'd like to go over how black unity is discouraged and why it is. Okay, number one, black stores and businesses are highly surveillanced and controlled by European owned banks. Okay, so if you do something out of the line, you're supporting something they don't want you to support, your loan gets cut off. So this is part of the the control in this country over black businesses, which this can discourage at times black people from wanting to do or donate to other black people, out of fear that they may lose something that's connected to European rule in America. Number two, blacks are often fired, found suspicious, or called racist if they attempt to take up for or try to speak in groups amongst themselves. Okay, so if they try to take up for their someone that's black, even if they know that they're right, and try to support them, or there's a bad situation that involves a black and a white person, this is a good way for you to get fired. So a lot of times, black people have turned their backs on their own people out of fear of losing their income, their stability and everything. So this is a part of, discouraging blacks to, unite and a system that subconsciously encourages black people to speak up, discourages us from speaking up, or, to that, magnitude. Meanwhile, white people are free to exclude, not include, or give whatever lenient treatment they see fit to someone who belongs to their own race of people. So, no one ever bats an eye or thinks twice when there's an all white movie, all white party, all only white people present. Okay, so this is not called being racist. This is called the privilege of Anglo-Saxon superiority. But if black people do it, that there's just all black audience or this or that, it's going to be highlighted. Okay. Once again, yet black people are often highlighted or blackballed for attempting the same actions. Okay. So this is I think this white privilege part of the perks of it without them actually saying it nowadays. Number three, blacks are made to feel guilty for being proud of their history. The true history that may very well differ vastly from a European history book point of view, okay? The points I just mentioned, plus many more, are part of the hurdles we must continue to jump over as black people. And once we learn how to serve and be kind to ourselves, first and foremost, as black people, then we can begin a new foundation and legacy that will supersede past the shadows of slavery. That concludes this segment. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be on air with each and every one of you. I thank you for taking your time to listen. You could have been at anywhere, but you chose to tune in to The Truth with Trinity. I want to thank all my old A1 Day 1 subscribers, any new subscribers, and if this is your first time listening, I hope you enjoyed. If you would like, you can hit the subscribe, notification, and share button. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions, or you'd like to give a financial contribution, you can at thetruthwithtrinity.com. You can listen to my podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. And always remember, if you can't tell the truth with anyone else, you can with Trinity. Till next time, take care.